Thank you. Well, you all look a bit different than just the end of my phone. Tuia ki te rangi. Tuia ki te whenua. Tuia ki te naka o nā tangata. Ko te mea nui. Ko te aroa a ihi kraiti. Ko te wiki te atua. Me whakakarori atono ingoa wā katoa. Ki e tau mai, te manakitanga ki runga e te kingi a ihi kraiti. Pai mairere ki aia me tuno whare me te kaupapa o tēnei pō. Nā reira, e te atua, e te rangi. Whakapaia hoki e a mātou hui. Me te kaupapa, whakahirahira tēnei o te pō. I roto, te ingoa tapu, o te matua, te tama, te wairua tapu. Tuaroa, e te moana ko ua te mata, tēnā koe, e nā maunga o tamiki makaurau, nā maunga whakahi, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou. A tēnā tātou i o tātou tini mate, haere, haere, haere. Ka hunga mate ki te hunga mate, ka hunga ora ki te hunga ora. E te mauri o te whenua nei, nā mana a iwi, me te uri o Ngāti Whātoa ki o rākei me nā maunga whakahi ki kaipara. E mihi, e mihi, e mihi mai koutou katoa. E te iwi nā hau e whā, nau mai, haere mai, whakatau mai rā. Nau mai, haere mai, ki te tautoko e te kaupapa, whakahirahira e te whakahirahira tēnei. Nau mai, haere mai, ki te whakawhiti kōrero, ki te tautoko e te kaupapa me te kōrero mea nui tēnei. Nō rena e whānau. Tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā no tātou katoa. Kia ora. I didn't need that mic up to say. Welcome one and all. To say that I'm humbled and blown away by the support that I've had these past few weeks is to understate something that's been probably the most profound thing I've ever done in my life. 4 weeks ago, almost 5 weeks ago, I was sitting in my beautiful home with my whānau, reflecting on the world, reflecting on life, and locked up in my whare, which is a beautiful home that I live in, so it wasn't as the stress. And I started reflecting on the turn of events that I was witnessing. During that reflection, I thought, hold on a second. About 20 odd years ago, I started to study these very events that were starting to unfold in front of me and you. Come from a background, as many of you know, and have seen my posts, where I've studied and researched geopolitics, where I've examined information as a trained researcher and investigator, where I have studied the Bible closely, the prophetic books of Daniel and Revelation, which predict of a situation where humanity would be confronted with the most devastating system that will take and rob us all of our freedoms and our rights. But tonight, whānau, friends, where we are announcing to the world and to this government that we are taking back New Zealand and we're going to give it back to ourselves, the people of Aotearoa. More disastrous than any earthquake, than any tsunami or tornado, we have endured the greatest disaster to ever hit our shores. We have endured this Labour government under the communist leadership of the globalist Jacinda Ardern, who without limitation has sought to roll out an agenda that is not created in the shores of Aotearoa, but framed in the halls of power that have no sympathy or empathy for the loves and the people of our land. The threat that this government represents to all New Zealanders is greater than any war or threat of war that we have seen as a country. I've studied the wars up close. I've met soldiers that have served and fought in wars. And the ones that I've spoken to concur that the threat that we are dealing with right now is the greatest threat to the values that we love and adore and cherish in our fair country. The COVID-19 hoax has been based on the proven faulty information from the Imperial College of London, based on the projections of Dr. Andy Ferguson, who is a proven dishonest and uncredible medical professional who has consistently throughout his career thrown out projections of medical crises that have proven to be disastrous from the very bowels of its concept through to the disasters that it has caused for people taking note of them. And he hasn't stopped it. The Imperial College, under his leadership, projected that tens, if not hundreds of millions of people would die because of the COVID-19 virus unless the world combined to work together to deliver a solution to defeat it. This was further validated by the clearly disproven World Health Organization that has been documented, perpetrating and propagating the greatest crimes against the African people and against the Indian people of East Asia. This was further validated and entrenched by a list of billionaires who have developed the technology to develop weaponized viruses, to patent those viruses and the contents that make up those viruses, and have also painted and designed and developed the very solution through the cures of vaccination to defeat the said viruses that they have created under their funding and under their desire to enslave humanity in a health system that means health only exists at the end of a needle. This list of billionaires worked with rogue elements of the US and Chinese medical establishment, and they created the weaponized COVID-19 virus. They then, through a planned and articulated execution, released it in a very well considered and executed way. Dr. Ashley Bloomfield, under the direction of Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern, and despite objections from New Zealand's own world-renowned scientists, then started to destroy our Kiwi way of life. And this is where I started to wake up. This pandemic has been the very cause that global leaders, political leaders, needed to usher in the United Nations UN Agendas 21 and 30, which are the greatest challenges to the personal liberties and freedoms of all human beings on earth. These programs will force all humans into a funnel of control, centralizing every aspect of human life and the requirements necessary for us to live, breathe, eat, and function. But the system will not operate in peace nor in freedom for you and I. This cause will cause untold misery for all living generations of us that understand what freedom means. But what they have done consistently for many years now is to dumb down the school curriculum so that children no longer know how to think unless they have a device in their hands and are being gratified while they're eating lashings of poison. And not only the children, but also us adults. Agendas 21 and 30 mean that we will end up in high-density urban population zones that they approve. It will mean us eating GMO-modified food that they approve. It will mean that we will live in a radiated atmosphere of 5G technology that destroys DNA, destroys and causes cancers in us, destroys our immune systems. But it also means that they will be able to, at will, deliver vaccination programs that we will have no legal recourse to deny unless we resort to some type of violence. This means that humanity as we know it today will become a shadow of itself. And it means that we, who know what it's like to grow our own lettuces, our own tomatoes, our potatoes, our pumpkins, and to go fishing, it means that those of us that know what that means will die out, and with that, the understanding of peace and freedom with it. Meaning that the generations after us will grow up, develop in this technocratic controlled society where every aspect of their lives are regulated. Jacinda Ardern is the greatest example of a globalist that we have seen. I was no fan of John Key, and as I've said in my broadcasts, I'm not left, I'm not right. I have no political agenda, despite standing on the stage tonight. I had an agenda to protect and fight for freedoms. The same freedoms that God has given every one of us sitting or standing in this room tonight. Jacinda Ardern has used this crisis to bring a long-winded, unnecessary lockdown that has completely destroyed lives and businesses, causing suicides, cancers, undiagnosed heart diseases, domestic violence, and financial ruin of the kind we have not seen since the 1929 depression that affected the entire planet. This financial ruin has started at the base of our economy and business, and it is soon to flood every New Zealander like an unwarranted tsunami. Not one New Zealander is going to remain unaffected by this. And while Jacinda Ardern is handing out the lollies and keeping us all happy with promises of a better future, she knowingly is inching millimetre by millimetre, inch by inch, to being able to introduce these agendas that are so foreign to our hearts and our minds. The second most alarming impact of this crisis has been the planned systematic destruction of our freedoms through the unscrutinised, democracy-evading, stealthily introduced laws and bills in the House of Representatives of this country's parliament. This started with enforcing a law on this country and warranting police to arrest and detain people who didn't maintain the social distancing, wouldn't say law, but the distancing suggestions. And policemen were put out there told to arrest people that weren't keeping social distances or were disobeying the mandates of one Dr. Ashley Bloomfield, knowing that they had no bill to support them in their arrest or detaining of free citizens of Aotearoa. These policemen that I've spoken to, 20 years plus policemen, said they went out there and they purposely turned the other way when they saw people breaking the law of Jacinda and Dr. Ashley Bloomfield. However, there are young policemen like in their early 20s now that come out of police college and they do not know how to think for themselves. They will, without objection, detain and arrest people because the government tells them. It's because they have not been educated on how to think for themselves. But of all the bills that this government has introduced under the auspices of Jacinda Ardern, the one that disturbs me the most is her undeclared tinkering with the New Zealand Bill of Rights. Along with this has been the recent introduction of the Internet Filtering Bill, which is the most subjective, tyrannical censorship platform to be introduced in our fair land, where they will define what you post is either approved objectionable or otherwise. Right now, this bill introduced by one of Winston Peters' own MPs, Tracy Martin, this bill means that when you post something in any of the social media formats, on your website, personal communications platforms, if this government sees it and if they don't like it, you will get the 3-strike promise. Strike 1, you get a warning. Strike 2, they'll start to filter who sees your posts that they find objectionable. Strike 3, they turn up, they arrest you, and they can fine you up to $200,000 if you are a person in business. Yep. This is what they're doing. But why are they doing this? Why is this government doing this to us? Because in order to bring in these UN programs, also the global corporate multinationals and their fascist programs to control food and money, they need to collapse the financial system, destroy the middle classes that present an economic challenge to any government. They need to completely annihilate the economy and turn New Zealand businesses into non-competitive companies and that are no longer self-sufficient but require, you guessed it, the wages subsidy to survive. Robbing businesses and ordinary New Zealanders who work hard for themselves, forcing them into some sort of dependent slavery. Whilst at the same time, demotivating the will of the labour force required for many businesses to operate. Why? Because people are getting free money at home. But the irony of this is that while these people are at home celebrating their free money, down the pipeline, if these agendas come through, they'll be forced into a slave working situation where they will earn nothing or next to nothing. We are now standing at the edge of the cliff, and I know that all of you know this. None of you are here because you think I'm a nice guy. But we all must make the decision of our lives. And the decisions are very, very clear to me. Will we stand and fight for our beloved country and our freedoms? Yes. Or shall we allow the few to decide the future of us, the many? I was on a plane yesterday from Wellington, and I was putting my stuff up in the hangar flying back, and I saw this scruffy-looking man walking towards me. He had jeans on, nothing wrong with that. Had a bit of a paru-looking T-shirt on, bit of an unclean-looking T-shirt on, and he had a sleeveless jacket, and he was unshaved and looking pretty grotty. Trevor Mallard. I call him the unspeakable speaker. When he walked past me, I looked at him and I thought to myself, is this the sort of guy that thinks he's better than me or you? Is this example of a human being? And I don't mean to be derogatory because Jesus loves him the same way he loves me. But is this the type of man that I'm going to allow to control my family's future? You can bet your money on it that I won't. And I know that you're not going to let them do it either. So the decision is this that I want you to support me with. I say, let's stand and fight for what is ours. For what God has given us. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Let's fight for whakaputanga, which is independence as our own country. Let's stand as one family. As I say in my broadcast, people, and you must get sick of me saying this, this is not a Māori thing, it's not a Pākehā thing, it's not any other thing, it's an everyone thing. Black lives matter? No, all lives matter. Hannah, is this the control? Is that it? Thank you. Alrighty, the rubber's about to hit the road. Whānau, I'm absolutely delighted. I've had to really soul search myself whether I would see this through. My wife is very unhappy with me right now. Very unhappy with me. And She's unhappy for a couple of reasons. One, we were meant to be in Tahiti a month ago. Thank you, Jacinda. That didn't happen. But I've searched myself in prayer and contemplation and reflection as to what the heck am I going to do with the over 130,000 people that have engaged me in 4 weeks. Can you believe that? We like that way. Well, whānau, I'd like to invite you to welcome to the New Zealand Public Party, whānau. Welcome. Your voice, your power, your party. Thank you. Thank you very much. Aotearoa ki te tangata ki te Aotearoa. New Zealand for the people and people for New Zealand. All people. Your voice, your power, not the power of a politician, your party that is going to serve you and protect us. God gave me a strategy to create a collective of concerned people that are wanting to be in minor parties, to bring them together. These people believe, like me, that we need to fight for this country, otherwise we're going to wake up and we will not recognise this country. Some of the Thank you. God gave me a strategy to create a collective of concerned people who believe like me that New Zealand is worth fighting for, and that the government of New Zealand needs to, number one, serve its people, protect the people, and advance the interests and cares of all people of Aotearoa with respect to tangata whenua as the first people of New Zealand. I would like to introduce you to some of our very, very simple policies. And here they are. I'm not a rocket scientist. I'm a simple human being. I'm a simple person. But right up the front, right up top there, what is our first pillar? Democracy. Democracy. Government integrity. Who like me is sick of liars in the House of Representatives? Yep. Public safety. That's a very broad thing to say, but public safety. Because if you think about public safety, you're going to care about their physical health, you're going to care about their economic and financial health, their emotional health. Exactly, every type of health. That's a very broad statement, but it means so much, and we can drill down in that. Economic and fiscal expertise. We have 17 Labour members of Parliament in there, but apparently the joke is it 17 or 19 Labour? It's 17. Apparently there's 2 MPs and 15 warm seats. Jacinda being the first, Grant Robertson being the second, and if that's the best they can do, I think we're going to do a lot better than that. Number one. Economic and fiscal expertise. We want a party that wants the average New Zealander that knows how to build a business to be involved in deciding what's best for business. We do not want career bureaucrats. We do not want career politicians who've never had a day's work in their life outside of Parliament to make business decisions. We want real experts, and I am absolutely blessed to have a mentor that's based in Melbourne, a part Māori businessman who left Aotearoa 50 years ago to Melbourne. He's one of the wealthiest people in Australia now. He's one of the top international tax law specialists, and he looks after the 5% of the wealthiest people in Australia, and he has promised me he will write all of the financial policies and create the programs that he knows as a person who's built himself up from the ground up. He will work with us to do this. And he said, just buy me a coffee. Environmental sovereignty is another pillar, another key pillar of us. If our soil is poisoned with GMO seeding, if it's poisoned with Monsanto products that they say will help our food grow better, get rid of 1080. Here. I was going there. You stole my thunder. Thanks for that. I'll speak to you after this. You've got a job. Environmental sovereignty means so much to us, because if we can't grow our own healthy food, then what have we got? What have we got? We've got nothing. We've got nothing. So what we want to do as part of our environmental policies, we want to work with the people that really know what that means from a beautification perspective, so that our native plants and species can thrive and come back again, so that we can rid our landscapes of 1080, the poison that seeps into our whenua. And that will also monitor the type of seeds that we allow into our country to enter into our biodiversity. Practical sense is what we want to introduce here. Treaty of Waitangi. Treaty of Waitangi. Everybody talks the death out of the Treaty of Waitangi. I am ex-Auckland Council, and it was the most dishonest 18 months of my life I've ever had to endure. Why? Because I was head of Māori engagement for Auckland Council, and I had to endure these bureaucrats, Māori and Pākehā, telling me we've got the best thing since sliced bread for Māoridom, and here's the plan, but here's no money to execute the plan. That is the greatest evidence of tokenism, and it's the greatest example on how to dishonour and disrespect an Indigenous population. It's as equivalent as to anything I've ever studied. So what we do want to do, we want to bring the sensibility into this discussion about the treaty and what it actually means, because this is a partnership. And I'll tell you one thing, if you've got a problem with the Treaty of Waitangi, you need to rethink it again. Why? Because the United Nations is saying with agendas 21 and 31 that all our sovereignty goes to them. That everything that we want to decide on as a country, what we want to grow, all policies around development has got to go through a central unit that is in the UN through the Agenda 31 program. But you know what? There's a little hiccup for them. Why? Because the Treaty of Waitangi is our agreement with the Crown, not the United Nations. I've learned more and more and more about the Treaty of Waitangi beyond the words of the paper. This document will protect all of us. Not just Toto Māori, not just people of Māori blood, but all of us. Whether we're Dalmatian, whether we're English, Scottish, French, Chinese, Malaysian, Indian, Sri Lankan, doesn't matter. It will protect us all. So we need to ensure it's in its proper space. Transparency and public accountability. Who was alive, and I know you all were because this is only going back to 2008, who was alive and was watching either Fox or CNN, and President-elect Obama walked out on stage and he said to his constituency, the people of America, he would be the most transparent government in the history of the United States. It was then proven he was the president that issued the most executive orders that had ever been issued out of a president's office in the United States. And these executive orders, they circumnavigate democracy. He organised the most covert types of operations that violated foreign sovereignty that the United States had ever deployed. He brought in a system of monitoring through the NDA. He hypersensitized all of the intelligence systems within the US beyond even what George Bush II did. But he started out saying he would be the most transparent president the United States has ever seen. Who saw Jacinda Ardern say she would be the most transparent prime minister that we would ever see? Who saw that? I did. Has she been transparent? No. Has she been accountable? No. And she thinks that we are too dumb to pick up on the game. She thinks we're stupid. Well, I've got news for you, Jacinda Ardern. I've got news for you, Winston Peters. I've got news for you, ACT Party. I've got news for all of you in government right now. The New Zealand Public Party is coming for you. I had the pleasure and the privilege of meeting some very fine patriotic New Zealanders from the Direct Democracy Party. They're with us tonight, and I am hoping that these fine people will support this initiative. And they introduced me to the Swiss system of government, where that government is a lot smaller than ours. What does that mean? It means that when they decide things, they don't have 5,000 bureaucrats thinking about it and have working groups and then co-working groups and then executive committees wasting all the money. What they do is, for the important decisions that need to be made, they have referenda, binding referenda, and they take it back to the people. This last tier here, defence, this is important, but not at the expense of feeding our kids. Because any time that you spend more money than you need on defence, it's less money to look after our children. But what we need to do, we need to take a strategic approach to tactical thinking on how to defend our shores. And that doesn't mean jumping in with the Americans and everything they do. We don't need to do that. We don't need to do that. I had a phone call about 3 weeks ago, and I know that this guy is watching me right now over in Australia on the live broadcast. I had a call from Australia, from a Special Air Service, an SAS, former SAS soldier, who rang me up and said, "Brother, kia ora, my name is bleep, bleep, bleep." Went, "Oh, kia ora, bleep, bleep, bleep." He goes, "Brother, I've been watching you for a month, and I just want to let you know, the moment you feel the heat on the back of your neck, you let me know, brother, and there will be a team of us ready to come round to your place." We have amazing people in the Defence Force, both Army, or all of Navy, Army and Air Force. They're marvellous people. They really are. I joined the Army late in life. I joined at the age of 28. I was an old guy because all my peers were 18, 19, 20, and like that. I was the old guy of 28. We've got amazing people in there. But another area that I'm really interested in, because this is about accountability and transparency, are international relationships. What have these governments signed us up to? We now need to unpack these relationship agreements. We need to examine them, and we then need to look at them very, very closely and decide if we, the people of Aotearoa, New Zealand, want to be in them. All of them. Trade, this is incredibly important. But do we need to be funding junkets of bureaucrats that fly over to China, fly over to where they're going, and come back, had a great holiday, a series of ideas, and nothing happens? We're not going to be doing that anymore. That's right, exactly right. But here's the big one, guys. Protection of our national sovereignty and independence. We are a group of islands here. We are islands. We're not just North and South Island. We are a group of islands here in Aotearoa, and we want to be our own people with our multitude of cultures based on the Treaty of Waitangi, celebrating the culture of tangata whenua, but all together as one family. And we've got the geography to do it. We've got the produce to produce that we can feed our own people. We don't need to be buying GMO pikelets from Holland. No. Well, I hope I'm a little bit more livelier than I am in my broadcasts. What do I always say? Calm, cool, credible, on a solid footing. But that brings me to the getting close to the close for me. I've got some other people that I want to introduce. But who am I? Who am I? My name is William Desmond Te Kahika, commonly called Billy Te Kahika, also a former international guitar player, Billy TK Jr. My album's facade at the back there, thank you, just saying. But I'm a son of a what would have been called 30, 40 years ago a Māori radical, but now called a ordinary guy in nowadays today, in terms of Te Ao Māori. The son of a beautiful half French and half Irish mother, but I'm also a father. I'm also a grandfather, and my daughter and my mokos are walking around here. My kids, I've got 6 kids and 2 granddaughters. And so I'm in this fight. I'm in this fight just like you are. I've had an extensive career whānau. I left school at 15. I'm uneducated. Just want to say that now. But I do have a master's in the School of Life, okay? And I do want to very seriously just point out some things. Everything I've learned about the life that I live has been proven up by a life that's experienced many, many, many things. I grew up mostly in a state house in South Auckland in Mangere. My brothers, Gavin and Leon, who I grew up with, are here, or Leon is. He did some work. Leon designed the logo for us today at the last minute. This is how new this is. And I grew up not having a lot. I had a happy childhood. I had a loving mother. Dad was on tour, been rocking, a rock and roller. But we didn't have anything. We had a push-start car. When Mum used to say to me, hey, I'm going to come and pick you guys up after school, we were like, no. Please, no. No, please don't pick it. We'll walk. True story. And then one day at Beta Intermediate at Mangere, I walk outside, and you hear the jaws dun and I see my mum parked in our pakaru-looking paru car. And I'm going, oh no, that's shameful enough. And then she's sitting in the car's running, and I'm going, oh cool, get in the car, dunk. And there I was pushing our car in front of our peers. That was pretty shameful. But I grew up with a healthy respect of being creative with money and appreciating money when we had it. I've been working since the age of 10. I had my first job working in a petrol station, which turned into a paper round, which turned into a job at a takeaway bar, and which turned into another job in a petrol station, and then night working at Johnson & Johnson. I bought my own car when I was 16. I didn't have a father to buy it for me, or a mum that could afford it, and I bought a car that I didn't have to push, and it was a Mark III Cortina. But from there, I became an international guitar player because I'm the son of an amazing masterful guitar player. But I woke up when I was about 21 and I realised, hey man, I really don't want to be one of those, those struggling poor artists. That wasn't for me. So I started thinking about how I was going to change my situation being an uneducated Māori from South Auckland. And what I figured out as a guitar player, that every time I played, I was selling Lion Red and Steinlager. So what did I do? I rock up into Lion breweries. I conned myself a meeting with the brand manager. I remember his name right now. His name was Rainer Sherbert, a part Samoan brand manager, way up the top in the food chain. And I walked into his office with my very naive half-a-page proposal. I said to him, I'm the hottest young guitar player in New Zealand. I'm just going to Texas to get signed up to an American record company, which I did. And I said, every time I play, I sell loads of your beer, give me $20,000. 1994, 95. This guy just about fell off his seat in laughter, and he said to me, okay, mate, well, I tell you what, I'll give you $2,000, as much beer as you can drink. All your posters I'll get done for you, and you can play in all the Lion Breweries bars. You come and tell me what I got for my money in 3 months. And you know what? 3 months later, I turned up with my report, was bigger than a half a page, because I've worked out a few things by then. And that led to me being picked up as a cadet within the company as a contract marketer. I did 7 years with Lion Breweries. I learned about marketing from the ground up. I then worked out one day as a contractor what goes with beer, chips and peanuts. So I rang up Eater, rang up Bluebird, and said, hey, I'm a great guitar player. I'm a Lion player. If I was you guys, give me some money. And they did. And so I became a national manager 6 months later. The only national manager in the history of Goodman Theatre to not have a degree. Thank you. I then had contracts touring the world as a guitar player, but I always had a couple of other objectives in my life that I wanted to do, and that was I wanted to serve the community in some fashion. So I decided that what I would do was I wanted to look at the idea of being a policeman. So I thought, okay, this sounds pretty cool. And then I went and volunteered to help run the Papatoetoe Plaza Community Policing Office, which I did for about 18 months to 2 years. And I thought, this is pretty cool. Okay, I like that. And I went out with the police a lot and started helping them with different things and thought that was pretty cool, except that when I went to see my aunties and uncles who like to smoke. And then I tried to join the police, and a recruiting lady didn't like me. And so she said, no, go away. And then I did. And then I joined the army because I wanted to be an SAS soldier myself, special air service soldier. So I trained up to do that, became as fit as a fiddle. And then while I was doing that, I did all of the 3 introductory courses to enter the New Zealand Military Intelligence Corps. And I did those, and that is what gave me the discipline to be able to research and study the topics that we're talking about tonight and really find out about them. From there, I wanted to go into the New Zealand Military Intelligence Corps, and they said to me, you're going to be a great guy to go to East Timor, because if you'll be able to blend in and whakawhanaungatanga with them, family bit of, got the bit of the chingy eyes myself, and, I'd be all good, right? But what happened? Waiuru Army Bar, get in a big punch up. I'm a Christian today, just saying. And the major hauled me up the next day and said, mate, you're not really good at it, go back to your base. So I did that. I was only young, but it was a good fight. Okay, from there, while training to go into the SAS selection course, I got approved for that by my unit. But what I did is that I had another go at applying for the police, and because of the work and my reports as a soldier, which were pretty good. They were pretty good. In fact, they were really good. Just saying. I got accepted straight away, and in fact, I was quoted as a meritorious candidate. Got accepted in the police. Went down to Aotearoa, and I was down there getting ready for graduation. And then I got wind. I was thinking to myself, well, hold on a second. I reckon there's something wrong with the way I was recruited. So what I did, I went to see the inspector, and I said to him, hey, mate, look, I reckon that the 2 people that recruited me, they didn't do something right in that process. I'm not convicted or anything like that. And he says, oh, what happened? And I said, well, they didn't say that. And I told them that when I was 16, I got caught with a roach outside the glue pot, Ponsonby. He says, oh, don't worry about that. That's all good. And then he said to me, who was it? And I mentioned the 2 names, and I saw his face change like that. He knew them. And so I wrote an official report to them, to the police, and said, hey, this is what happened. And then they came back and said to me that one of the policemen was a 40-year-old police veteran. He was just about to retire, and then that by exposing this, he was going to lose his pension and lose his job. So I've seen the dirty side of the government. So they gave me a choice: either I push this and stay in the police, and this guy loses his career, or I resign. So I resigned without question. One of the greatest resentments in my life, because what I should have done is I should have blown the lid, stayed there, and pushed this through. That's what I should have done. However, the greatest resentment that I have out of that is that I didn't go through with SAS selection. And I've got dear brothers right now that are in one SAS right now, working in Afghanistan and around different theatres of conflict. So I really wanted to let you know that, because I know that when we launch this, somebody's going to come out and say, you got fired from the police, which is a lie, all right? I don't have any skeletons in my closet. And I want to talk about this because you know what politicians do? They lie. And I'm not a liar. My wife might argue about that when she asks me if I've done the washing. But that's right, I'm not. I do not want to be a politician that you can't trust. The second skeleton in my life is that I told a dirty joke at a work do and I got in trouble for it. And I can't even remember it. It was pretty pathetic, I would imagine. But it's important that we do this. Why? Because if you can't trust me, why would you trust me with your lives and your children's lives? True? It's true, isn't it? So I'm going to finish off just by saying this, because we're going to take a couple of minutes break. I've got some amazing speakers. Is Winston here? Not that Winston. Chris? Oh yeah, I would like to introduce you. I will introduce you now, Winston. Just before I said the same thing. Winston wants to see me after bagging him in front of 140,000. But it was another Winston, so I was like, oh, that's a relief. Yeah, okay. But I just want to say, I'm you. I'm average. I'm just like you. You're just like me. And just like you, I care deeply for this country. I'm willing to put everything on the line to fight this fight for you, but I need you badly to support me. I want you please to go online and let all the other minor parties know that I've put this together and that they need to be a part of it. We'll talk with them. I've spoken to a lot of parties already, and a lot of them want to support this. So instead of having a million, hold on a second. There you go. Check 2. Instead of having a million little votes, let's bring them all together and have a big vote. Yeah? We have a couple of very, very, very simple goals. Number 1, we want 30% minimum of the vote. 30%. We want at least 10 of our own MPs, if not the majority of the House. And we want to be able to sit smack in the middle and push the big guys around every time they get out of line. Every time. So, Whānau, I'd like to finish by saying how deeply humbled I am. I'd like to thank you for listening to me. I've taken actually 5 minutes longer than what I actually thought, and Bill's going to give me a kick and says, "You don't do that in politics, mate." But I would like to acknowledge Bill, because Bill is actually one of the smartest political thinkers in New Zealand. This is Bill Kaitiana. Thank you very much if you could acknowledge Bill. Thank you.